Okay, I'm going to make a video about how I figured out how to beat 5NL Zoom. I'm doing this as part of the challenge, and the way I went about it is I started a few days ago, 4 days ago, and I paid attention. I took notes, and I did looked at population statistics. Kind of figured out as best I could how pool plays, and then crafted a strategy to adapt to how pool plays to maximize EV as much as possible. And I discovered a lot, and I've made these adjustments. And in 4 days, I have made almost 15 buy-ins. So I'm only about 5 to 6 buy-ins away from moving up. And I thought I'd share how I did it and what the conclusions were. Right. So you can see I have some sticky notes on the screen. I don't really need them. I know kind of everything, but I put them up here as sort of part of the video so that the essentials of the strategy are at least visible. Yeah, so talk about pre-flop first. So you see I'm opening ace-9 offsuit from the low jack, which I would not normally do. But one thing I discovered is that pool plays way too passively. They do not 3-bet at all. I mean, there are some who do. Of course, there's always exceptions. But the vast majority just do not. They limp and they don't 3-bet. And because they don't 3-bet, one adjustment I've made is there's a few, but one adjustment I've made is opening wider, especially from the earlier positions, because there's no danger I'm going to get 3-bet and have to fold the hand. I mean, there's always a little danger. Like I said, nothing's absolute, but it's shocking actually how little pool 3-bets pre-flop. So we can play some hands from earlier positions that we wouldn't normally play because they can't stand to 3-bets, and we don't want our range weighted too heavily into hands that can't hold their own against a 3-bet. Another adjustment to the fact that pool does not 3-bet enough is when they do 3-bet, if you don't have something that beats pocket aces, you should fold. That's not 100%, of course. Like I said, nothing is 100%, nothing's absolute. But here's another adjustment. So I'm 3-betting light a little bit more too, being very aggressive 3-betting pre-flop. Because either they fold too much or they call with hands they shouldn't call. I know that's an oxymoron, but for some reason it seems to be the case. Yeah, okay, let's work backwards. So let's start with 4-bets. If I 3-bet and I get 4-bet, doesn't matter. I'm folding. even if I have pocket kings. Well, no, maybe not folding. I might call pocket kings. But if you think about it, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to fold kings or queens pre-flop. But the fact is that Pool's 4-bet range is aces, kings, and ace-king, pretty much, exclusively. They're certainly not 4-betting light. Maybe they 4-bet queens, maybe jacks, but no. I think when in a multi-way pot, a hand like that, 10-9 out of position, just loses. It's just a bad call. Doesn't matter what the price is. So yeah, but as far as 3-bets are concerned, the general rule, the guiding principle is, and this is true post flop too, but we'll start with pre flop, is if villain wants to get all the money in, villain has the best hand, generally. So pre-flop, if villain wants to get all the money in, villain has aces or kings or ace-king. So if I have pocket kings, that drastically reduces the chances of villain having ace-king or kings, so that means it's probably aces. What's that? That's weird. Oh, he's only got 58 cents. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll just call down with a pair here. Probably has a king or a 9, but what can you do? You can fold. That's what I'll do. That's another thing. But we'll get there. But yeah, if villain shows any undue aggression, post flop, just fold. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I have. Doesn't matter if it's only 12 big blinds. I should just fold. Most of the money, that maybe that's not the right way to say it. The main reason I have made almost 15 big blinds in 4 days, 15 buy-ins in 4 days, playing 5NL, is because I will fold almost anything post-flop. The amount of money I am making, quote unquote, by folding in those situations is astounding. Yeah, because the pool's so passive. If they wake up and start throwing bets in, doesn't matter what you have the worst hand. Villain has the best hand. A good example of that, this is an interesting flop for my 3-bet range. I think I can just check here. That helps because I have a draw to the nuts and I have more kings. Yep. So so we're in pre-flop officially. I was talking about pre-flop, but yeah. So rule number 1 is open wider from earlier positions. Rule number 2 is try not to get all the money in pre-flop. Don't aim to get all the money in pre-flop. If villain wants to get all the money in, you're in a bad spot. A corollary of that is if I'm in position and I have a really good hand and I open and villain 3-bets from out of position, often I'll just call. I'm in position, I have a good hand, I can control the action post flop and either make more money or get out without losing more money. I hesitate to say I have a post flop edge, but I have a plan anyway post flop. I have an idea of what I'm doing post flop, so that makes it better. Along the same lines, because two more pre-flop strategies, adjustments. You can obviously you can light three bet that. Oh, that's another thing I'm doing a lot is three betting light from the small blind, just a ton. Yeah, and not the greatest. I think we give up at villain bets. No, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, villain very passive. I lost my train of thought. So another thing, oh yeah, three betting light from the small blind. I can almost close my eyes and just three bet against the button. Um, uh, I'm trying to think of times it didn't work. Like if button calls, generally they fold to the first barrel, and if not, they almost always fold to the second barrel. So you can almost three bet with impunity from the big blind. But I don't. I actually I expand my range a little bit, and I kind of ignore the random number generator. If I have a hand that is a good light three bet, it's pretty much going to happen. Especially if there's any size or timing tell. If villain bet's too small or villain bet's takes a really long time before deciding to bet. Yeah, that's going in. Ironically, I just folded the small blind with a terrible hand. It's not as true in the big blind. The big blind overcalls, I think. I mean, I don't see the villain's ranges. I have some idea from going through hands, but it seems that villain overcalls in the big blind. So, not always. And I'm still gonna widen my range, but not excessively. There's still hands I'm gonna oh, that's nice. This should work, unless he has an ace. Oh, yeah, we can fold. Another consequence of villain's passivity, pre-flop again, there's a contradiction here because villain does seem to be, the pool seems kind of stationary in general, but at the same time, villain's fold to steal percentage way too high, so I'm just stealing like crazy. I should have three bet that. Again, I'm not totally paying attention here. This could be a check raise. Not as yummy, but not terrible. I think we'll just, since we have an ace, I think we can, oh yeah, if this guy bets, yeah. Those multi-way pots are different, and I'll get there about my strategy with the multi-way pots. But yeah, that's the basic pre-flop strategy. Just really aggressive, expanding range. Oh, no, no, no. There's one more. I forgot an important part. Yeah, because villain is so passive, they're not three betting a lot. I will, if I'm on the button or the small blind, I will call. I will call. I will flat. I will flat hands that, because I know I'm not going to get squeezed, I can call some hands that might have some implied odds. uh, this is a four. Yeah, so that's basic preflop. If this were queen 8, yeah, queen 9 for sure. Queen 9 I would open from the low jack. Maybe queen 8 against pool, for sure. Yeah, this is a good example. 9-7. It depends on the action, where the action's coming from, and stuff. I was using 4x, and I'll do it here to get more fold equity from the small blind. I'm not 100% sure that's necessary. I'm not sure how elastic villain is in relation to sizing, whether villain is calculating odds into their calling and raising range. I don't know. I'm not doing that. I don't mean that as a disparagement. I just don't know the answer. Whether it matters that I'm betting 4x instead of 3x. I am using larger sizes in general because of rake, obviously. Normally, I'd use a tighter range if this were higher stakes too, and the rake was high. I'd use a tighter range and bigger bet sizes, but I do think that the fact that I have strategic adjustments post-flop justifies opening my range, and because I'm not going to get squeezed or a 3-bet. Yeah. In general, it happens, still happens, and it's easy. Just pitch the hand, no worries. Yeah, so that's pre-flop, pretty much. So post-flop. Yeah, it's really, really hard to range pool here at the stake. Do we want to call short stack from early position with ace 3 suited in the big line? We don't have to. I'll just be, it's, oh, there you go. Made my decision for me. I always forget how quickly I have to act in Zoom. I'm a thinker. I'm deliberate. Yeah, so post-flop. Yeah, you can't, I can't anyway, range villain. Just as an example, I had pocket fives. I 3-bet with them. Villain called. Out of position. I think I was on the button, or maybe the cutoff. I might have just called on the button. And villain, yeah, and the flop came 9-7-5. Bingo. Curiously, villain bet into me, kind of big, so I called. Same thing happened on the turn, which was a 7, which I thought was a great card for me, because I figured maybe villain had a 9 and picked up 2 pair, or villain had a 7, picked up 2 pair, and a set beats 2 pairs, so I thought I was in good shape. River was a brick, villain jammed, and I called, and villain had 9-7 offsuit. So, you know, if villain wants to get all the money in, just fold. Um, doesn't matter whether you think it's possible or not, because it is possible that villain has 9-7 offsuit, playing a 3-bet from out of position, 3-bet pot from out of position. That is in the realm of possibility. So, yeah, trying to figure out what villain should have in that position is not always a fruitful exercise. Much better, I think, to base decisions on the flow of action post flop. Yeah, and any aggression um, from villain that seems just fold. I do not think. I mean, not. I don't think. I know for a fact that the two quote unquote truisms about recreational players: one, that they don't fold, and you can't bluff a fish. That's not true. I do know that's not true. You certainly can, and I have numerous times. I mean, I'm a winning player. I make most of my money in small stakes. All small stakes. I've never gotten above 200 NL. This is interesting. I don't think 7 is strong enough, even though it's a diamond. And I'll get to the multi-way equation in a sec. But having said that, I do think that at 5 NL, just 5 NL, and everything I'm saying has nothing to do with any other stake or site or anything. All this is done specifically for 5 NL zoom on ignition, right? Don't generalize from what I'm saying. The method, I think, is important, but the conclusions, I don't think they translate from one site to another, or from one stake to another, or from one game to another. This is specifically for 5 NL zoom on ignition, because that's what I'm doing here. Villain's not. I mean, I have bluffed and gotten bluffs through, but if you're gonna bluff, you want to pick really good spots and go big. Don't think that villain doesn't want to call, because they do. They're playing. They got it. It's only pennies. They got a hand. They want to see. They want to see the showdown. They want to see if their pair is good. I'll give another anecdote. I was in, I forget the exact formation, but I was the pre-flop raiser. I think it was a single raise pot. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think it was. And I had, it was a great flop for my range. There were 2 high cards. There was a flush draw. There was kind of a little straightiness, but not too much that I had to slow down too much. I bet big. Villain called. Turn was a brick. I overbet. Villain called. And then the river completed the flush. And I just thought, well, villain could have a flush, villain could have a straight, but I don't know. My spidey sense told me that villain just had villain had a wide range, so there was lots of other stuff that villain could have had. I'm going to go for a little thin value here. I'm not playing my best. I'm not worried about it. I'm just, I'm half paying attention. Um, so uh, so I jammed with there was a possible straight, there were two big cards, and a possible flush on the board, and villain called with an underpair. Oh, sorry. So yeah, so there is, that's one, of course, and like I said, I have gotten some bluffs through, but I've played a lot of hands. That's another thing. For the challenge, I'm playing a lot because I want to complete the challenge, um, and I'm just amazed at how often I've gotten called down in spots where I would expect a reasonable player to fold. And then the same thing is true about bluff. The opposite is true of bluff catching, of course. Villain doesn't bluff enough, at least at this stake, at this 5 and L zoom. I think maybe the zoom is different because I do know that Villain, number one, tends to overfold at low stakes and also over bluffs generally at low stakes. But I'm not sure it's as true at 5 NL zoom on ignition. That's all I'm saying. So as a result, I'm trying to be really cautious about bluffing. I don't want to just spew, which is something I love to do. um, it's in my nature. So I'm trying to be careful about that. That's another adjustment. And yeah, if villain, like I said, if villain wants to get the money in post flop, I'm just folding. And even, I mean, there have been times there've been a couple times. There was one this morning where I caught a bluff, but super rare. Generally, villain has it. So yeah, just and so that's been a real hard adjustment for me because bluff catching and bluffing are big parts of my game, and I have a whole thing. Um, One could bluff here. Let's see. Yep. I wasn't really paying attention. I kind of woke up and thought, huh, has anyone bet? Um, yeah. So those are the basics. And employing that strategy, as I was hoping, haven't really gotten any juicy spots in this session, but employing that strategy as long as I'm folding post flop and saving money, not calling down. Um, uh, yeah, I in the 4 days, um, averaging I think around 50 big blinds per 100. So it can be done. You can beat 5 NL zoom and move up. And yeah, my plan is to move up. I'm doing this challenge starting at $100 and seeing how long it takes me to get to 200 NL, which was kind of where I was. Um, and yeah, so thanks for tuning in if you tuned in.